Hello, my name is Allison, and this is my JAR Stage 5 presentation. We are going to start off with an overview of my final project. The title of the article I chose is EEG Predictors of Dreaming Outside of REM Sleep. The authors of this article are Zhang and E. Wamsley. This article set out to research how electroencephalographic EEG patterns can predict when a person is dreaming during non-REM sleep. Now that we know a little more about this article, let's move on to the methods they used in this study. Kicking things off with the participants, this study selected 40 young adults, 70% of which being male, and the mean age is 20.5. Participants were excluded if they had a history of sleep or mental disorders, or used any form of medication that affected natural sleep habits. Prior to the study, participants were asked to maintain a regular sleep schedule for 3 nights, avoid drugs and alcohol for 24 hours, and no caffeine after 10 a.m. on the day of the study. Participants were set to arrive for a 9-hour sleep study starting around 11 p.m. An EEG was recorded with a high-density 58-electrode cap, while also measuring electromyography, EMG, and electrooculography, EOG. The participants were awoken up to 13 times during the night. 10 of those awakenings happened in the first hour, either 30, 60, or 90 seconds into sleep. There was at least one awakening in the N2 stage of sleep that happened after around 10 minutes. There was also at least one awakening in REM sleep stage that happened after around 5 minutes. After being awoken, the participants were instructed to verbally describe what was going through their mind, even if they did not think it was a dream they were experiencing. The verbal descriptions given by the participants were called dream reports, and they were categorized into 3 sections: imagery, perceptual imagery; thought, mental content without imagery; and no content, no recall or claimed experience. Moving on from the dream reports, we have the EEG analysis of their research. The researchers recorded the brain's electrical activity just before the participants were woken up, and the researchers followed the slow oscillation, delta, theta, alpha, and beta waves. They processed the data by looking at the differences between the absolute power and relative power of the waves. The image on the left shows the differences in brain activity with the different brain waves. In the statistical analysis, the researchers used the hierarchical linear model to compare each participant's brain activity for the 3 defined types of dream reports. By comparing the EEG data between recallers and non-recallers, they found that their results were moment-to-moment activity types for the participants, and it was not symbolic of personality traits. Alright, now let's move on to reviewing the results of this study. For sleep onset, the researchers found that imagery or dreaming was linked to increased absolute power in slow-frequency waves, notably slow oscillation, delta, and theta waves. This means that they believe that as your brain starts to fall asleep, more slow brainwave activity means that you are more likely to dream. Switching over to the results for N2 sleep, it was found that dreaming was linked to decreased relative power in very slow waves and increased power in faster brain waves such as theta, alpha, and beta waves. This is very interesting because this essentially shows the opposite results of what happens in sleep onset. For REM sleep, there was no clear evidence pointing towards consistent EEG differences with the participants when they reported dreams versus when they didn't. This really just means that the researchers confirmed that it is hard to tell if someone is dreaming or not. Overall, the researchers proposed an inverted U-shaped relationship between low-frequent brain activity and dreaming. Okay, with all that heavy information out of the way, we can head into the critique section. I added quite a few points as I had a lot to go off of, so I will try to make this quick. Starting with the participants, it felt that the research was lacking in a lot of areas. For instance, there were only 40 participants ranging in the late teens to early 20s, and 70% of them were male. With such a small participant pool that is uneven in gender representation, it makes it difficult to compare sleep results between males and females, and it makes it harder to generalize for a larger population. For these results to have been considered reliable, several other studies should be conducted at a larger scale with a wider range of participants in different age, cultural groups, and a more even gender ratio to see if the results are similar. Transitioning to the method of the research, it is heavily reliant on self-report from the participant, as most sleep studies are. The issue with this is there is a high chance that the participant's memory is not as good as another, and they will fail to report dream content even if they were dreaming. On top of that, the length of the study is too short. If the study was conducted over a longer period of time, they would be able to gather more results to compare to each other and reduce the chances of sleep deprivation. The results section is not without its issues either. While the researchers included both of their initial hypotheses, there are several things that are pertinent to the overall article that they failed to acknowledge. Their use of EEG readings is inconsistent, and there was no reliable content specifically for REM sleep, and the researchers failed to provide any alternative explanation for this issue. The researchers admitted to their issues with no content REM sleep readings, and how it can be related to participants not remembering, but the results are still portrayed as the participant not dreaming at all. Lastly, the researchers included between-subject analysis and morning recall, even though they admit the approach is flawed. Now all there is left to go over is the confounding variables. Just to touch on a few, a possible confounding variable would be any potential socioeconomic aspects, such as jobs or other financial stress the participants are experiencing, that may have an impact on their sleep ability. As previously stated, there is concern for sleep deprivation, as it would influence their overall quality of sleep, and it can affect their mood, level of tiredness, stages of sleep, and their recall ability. With all that being said, this article may feel underdeveloped in some aspects, but it is a solid foundation for other researchers to build off of. Thank you for listening.